The item that we're addressing tonight was deferred from last month. As you recall, you made some decisions on grand trees, but you ended up deferring and asked the applicant for additional information relative to the impervious construction reduction setback. So that's what we're dealing with tonight. Here's the application. This is just one of the sites identified in blue, but it's basically this site plus a HOA site that abuts the entry road to Whitney Lakes. Obviously, we're on Johns Island, just off of Merrywood Road. Today, it's a wooded site. I presented this last month. This just shows the approved master plan. This has base zoning, but however, under that base zoning, by right, they can do a neighborhood district, and it's been evolving over time, and it's been going through TRC or different city processes to modify the plan based on market forces and that sort of thing. But as you can see, top of the page there, basically it is slated for the multi-family component, a higher density area of the neighborhood district. Again, this is just a blow up of that master plan. This is the presentation by Earth Source that was seen last month, but then we'll add some additional slides, existing conditions with the grand tree shown. This is the beginning of the street network that would be introduced to the area. And the product is single family attached, not so much multi-family large buildings. Again, this is the plan that was shown last month, showing the trees with X's for removal, and then trees with the little red cross hatching for the reduction in the impervious setback. And you asked for more clarity on that, so we'll address that in just a minute. But grading of the trees, the tree sizes, the species. So this was a revised plan based on staff asked at the time the applicant to stake out the actual buildings, having some concern about the proximity of buildings, roads, and driveways to grand trees. So they tweaked the plan that was originally submitted. Again, these are images of some of those areas. These are the photos of the trees, and at the time, the applicant did their best to calculate the percentage of the encroachment. Again, this is the original slide deck. So that takes us to new slides and to address the board's concerns. The board split the vote, obviously, if you look at the minutes, which can't be approved tonight, but you asked that they preserve 2 grand trees. So you voted to allow the other grand trees, but preserve 2 B grade trees. So these are the 2 trees. One was in the middle, or actually not in the middle, but on the end of a row of attached units. Obviously, they split that row and just are doing a single family townhome by itself, and then they'll pick up the row to the plan south. And then the other tree was in close proximity to the road. They did a little shifting of the sidewalk and the road itself, and are planning to preserve that tree in that green space. This is the slide that kind of clarifies and starts to make a little more clear your request to understand the exact encroachment. So this is the overall, this is the plan left side of the site, and this is the plan right side, if you will. and then we'll get into, this is just the relevant case history. Obviously, the variance to remove 5 entries with the conditions say 2, and then the 3 special exceptions were approved with conditions, and then that you deferred the impervious construction setback. And cool. Well, I goofed. We have the paper copy. I thought I incorporated the blow-ups. So what you're going to see here, and I'll explain to the public. This was the overall showing the setbacks. And then what the applicant provided, and obviously I forgot to upload 3 or 4 slides, were blow-ups of the area, showing the cross-hatching, indicating the slight encroachments in those trees. So they basically took the overall and then blew it up. So thank you, and I do apologize that they are not uploaded. I hope my whole slide deck is not screwed up. But anyway, we'll address that. So anyway, there you have it. And my slides, I had additional slides, but they're very important. This, I wonder if I uploaded the wrong. This is concerning. Just a minute here. Go forward to that. Okay, I have the wrong version up, so I'm going to stop share. I apologize. Eliana, if you could help me get to my desktop. If I stop share.
Yeah. Good job.
So I want. So this is fine. Put that out on there. I clicked on the wrong one. Bring it back to this. So we do an image that gets posted on the website, and then version.
I think I need a magnifier. Supposed to fit in my wallet, but I can't find it. I had the same problem looking at it online.
Yes. Okay. All right. We're back on course. I apologize for that. All right. So I need to screen share this. Share. Eliana. Bring this one up on the share. That's it right here. Back in the Zoom. No. There we go. All right. So.
I know, I just forgot.
So. And we want to do slideshow. All right. So these slides haven't changed. My apologies. Brought up the wrong.
Okay.
So again, these are the two trees that the board asked to be preserved. Left side of the site, right side of the site. Here are the blow-ups. So you can see that they did additional shifts in roads to, again, reduce those areas of slight impacts. If you have any specific tree you'd like to point out, we can revisit, but there are the trees there. Tree 27 was one that staff recommended being preserved last meeting. And then this is a specific area in which we had the building staked out in the field to understand better in the field how close the buildings, parking, and road would be. The large tree to the top is a live oak, and the others, the bottom 37 is a red oak, and 36 is a live oak. These are some impacts with open space paths running through the tree protection zones. So just note this note provided a low elevated boardwalk system, and I'll discuss that in a minute. Again, over this tree protection zone, we can do a boardwalk system. Open space is important to the overall neighborhood district. So this is the city preferred system. This is actually downtown on Rutledge Avenue, but there used to be a huge tree right here. Unfortunately, it had to be taken down due to storm damage, but the city, you know, thinking ahead, needed to get a sidewalk to pass over that tree protection zone. So this is a system that is readily available, and basically you just set the concrete piers at grade, and then the weight of the system, and it's kind of like an interlocking system, could easily float over top of the tree protection zone. So with that said, staff, again, this is relevant case history. I brought that back up. So tonight we're dealing with variance for those trees with the shaded red areas. Staff is prepared to recommend approval with the condition that must use a system that elevates the path over the tree protection zone of the grand trees as per the city exhibits. Must provide a tree preservation plan by a certified artist for each grand tree with an encroachment to include the requirement to have an on-site meeting with the arborist that will implement recommendations with city staff after the improvements have again been staked out in the field. Proposed driveway encroachments must be pervious material over geofabric. Detail to be approved by staff, and then must provide tree protection barricades at the outer limits of the green space around the grand tree. So beyond just the tree protection zone, therefore existing grade to be maintained, to be approved by staff. So I will leave it there. And we do have 3 written comments, I believe, for this one. 6 written comments for number 2, Marywood Road. If you'd like to summarize those, or at least read out their names. Some are quite lengthy, but again, the general, in general, they speak through this, you know, they should not be impacted, they should not have encroachments, do better, preserve trees. So, with that said.
I think we've all probably read through the letters previously. And I do have to say, I think some of them are very well written and well thought out. It seems like a lot of them were written prior to the last meeting, because they were talking about the removals, not just about the encroachments. So that said, is there anyone present in favor of the application?
I'm here to present.
That's fine.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Eric, for the introduction. My name is Noah Nelson. I'm with Earth Source Engineering over at 496 Branson Court, Suite 203, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Again, I'm here representing Southeastern Recapitalization Group, the owners of this property. Eric did a great job, but just to recap again, we are in a 20-year-old PD, Charleston Lake, that we're at the bookend of. Tonight, we're here to discuss the encroachment of 13 grand trees, 3 of which we saved after our last meeting. So we're doing a better job than what we came last time with. We've been working with Eric Schultz and have been on site multiple times to discuss these trees. I've staked them out and had arborists grade and survey the trees. Tonight, there are 4 criteria that we will need to meet in order to justify the encroachment of these trees. Number 1, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. In Johns Island, wetlands and trees are not exceptional, but the sheer amount and volume of both that are on this property are. The site is heavily wooded with a remarkable 64 grand trees on the site. 64 existing grand trees, of which we are keeping 58. The site has a large amount of wetlands, existing stormwater ponds, jurisdictional ditches that total 1/3 of the entire site, all of which we are preserving. The extraordinary thing about this property is the fact that we are preserving all of the wetlands and 90% of the grand trees. Number 2, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. This is the last site to be developed in this PD for a reason. It's geographically the lowest site in the PD, filled with more wetlands and large trees than all the other sites in the PD, which poses significant design challenges. We're developing it in a way that retains all wetlands, 90% of the grand trees, and retaining over half the site as open space. This is what sets us apart from neighboring sites. Number 3, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. This site was originally master planned to have 185 multifamily units. This has been cut by over half to 89 units. Any additional restrictions to this site would be unreasonably restricting the development of this planned multifamily site. Our site layout has been designed and redesigned to minimize the impacts to as many grand trees as possible by reconfiguring roadways, homes, sidewalks, and paths. Number 4, the authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent properties or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. As mentioned previously, this site has always been a part of a planned development and planned as part of the character of the district. It was planned with 185 units, only 20% open space to be preserved, and it had wetland impacts. Tonight, we're coming to you with what we believe is a much better plan. Half the amount of units, twice the amount of open space, with no wetland impacts, and 90% of the remaining grand trees. We think this is a much better solution to the approved PD design.
Thank you. Is anyone else in favor of the application? Is there anyone present who is opposed to the application? And if so, if you want to speak, we'll have you come up and we'll have you give your name and address. And we have a lot on the agenda tonight, so we're going to limit it to 3 minutes for speaking would be great.
Good evening, Chair and board members. My name is Jessica Snyder. I met some of you guys last time. I live at 2860 Sweetleaf Lane on Johns Island. I want to start by thanking you guys for your work and attention to this request so far. I appreciate the thoughtful review and the feedback that has led to revisions. I also appreciate the applicant that's made some changes since we last met. It proves the design is flexible when preservation is a priority. But despite those revisions, we are still looking at some really concerning numbers. You look at tree 27, even though it's not removed, it's still facing over 40% encroachment. Tree 38 is another one. The healthy grade B live oak. It's also at nearly 40% encroachment. At that level, we're not talking about preservation anymore. We're really talking about a tree's ability to survive once construction has been completed. Additionally, another tree, 11, there's impact that's increased to 30%. Kind of makes it seem that this is a balancing act, trying to fit a certain layout or a specific number of units rather than preserving healthy grand trees. The question before you tonight is not how many trees are labeled as saved. It's whether they are truly being protected in a way that allows them to survive. I don't think, 89 units and having to reduce them to save a few trees or less encroachment is unreasonably restricting a development. I'm asking the board to hold this developer to a standard where no grand tree faces more than 25% encroachment. And that's what true preservation will look like under this ordinance. That's all I have. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, we will close the meeting to the public and open it to the board.
I think the applicant gave the reflect just a little bit of the opposition.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm rusty. I'm rusty. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you again. I agree. And we are trying to do as much as we can to save these trees. I do agree with what Eric has stated, using the boardwalks that cross over. That is a great idea. And using arborists to make sure that these trees will live through this encroachment. We're trying to do everything that we can to preserve the Johns Island character, which is preserving trees on the site. And we've preserved 90% of all the existing grand trees. So thank you guys for taking a look at this.
Thank you.
Eric, could you clarify something? The application says that there's impervious construction on the basis of 10 grand trees, but your recommendation for approval says 5.
So that was the case history. That was the removal.
Okay,
Impervious for 10.
got it. Thank you.
So it's tree number 11 that we, oh, and I didn't say now we're closing, I'll re-say now we're closing the item 2 board discussion. So it's 11 that you were proposing the PET.
That's right. So yes. This path over this tree protection zone, over this tree protection zone, and over that tree protection zone. Anywhere a path is proposed in lieu of doing, even if it was a
Okay,
small
the tree
path,
24, tree
Yeah.
11, what was it again?
22. Even if it were a soft path, over time compaction can occur. We're not having detail what that material will be. It has to be handicap accessible. So over time, it becomes almost like impervious. So the idea is that you would float something over top of the tree protection zone.
And are you amenable to looking at the system?
Oh, yeah.
I like that the applicant listened to what we given instruction to do last month. Regarding tree 38, I see that there is 40% encroachment there, but that does go through the road right of way. The road right of way is going through the encroachment, so I'm not sure how that can be adjusted.
I mean, I know we have, there's a road there and we gotta watch that intersection, but is there a way to manipulate the parking just to get that coverage out?
Manipulating, meaning removing the road and manipulating the parking across the street,
Like shifting it,
like shifting down.
shifting across or a little bit. Yeah, I know there's the intersection there, so we have to be thoughtful of that, but maybe.
No, I agree. I have concern about anything that's a lot.
Are these double 2 spots for each unit?
So yes, there are 2 spots for each unit.
That's required. But it could be across the street.
It would be right at that intersection, but yeah. Yeah, we should. Those parking lot.
Yeah, so just here, added to this one across the street,
Oh, I was thinking more of
or
moving
that,
the road rather than the parking so much. I was more concerned about the curb.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was more concerned about that.
realigning that.
Yeah.
That's also.
It's, you know, and possibly, not that it looks like great, but then, you know, you bank these closer together. You know, dip that down. You can't say it was sketching, sorry.
Yeah, I will say this was the tree that me and Eric Watson staked on site, right?
So our a plus in the plus column, positive column is that it's a live oak. That can tolerate a little more impact. The tree is a multi-stem, so it's not a singular stem tree. Root system was pretty well intact. I was assured that they'd be maintaining that grade through here, not elevating the road and what have you. So I don't think we fully understood the utilities that would have to go through that alley. But that's what I can offer at this time, is that in the field, it looked doable with an arborist on board to do necessary treatments, root pruning, whatever.
So, yeah, so maybe Deandra's point of moving it's easier to see on the big screen.
Maybe
Yeah,
the parking
shifting
and
the parking.
at least looking at it. I mean, I appreciate the parking is pervious, so I mean, that's helpful, but.
Because the road alignment, if you get into trying to realign that, then it's a bigger picture.
Is 27, mostly because of build?
So
It didn't seem like there's any building, like footprint in it.
yeah, so 27 was one.
I know that was what. We wanted, or Eric Stock wanted to hold on.
So we shrunk that roadway down. It used to be a lot wider through there. We shrunk it down to a one-way. But to allow fire access, we need I forget, I think it's 5 feet.
20-foot clear zone, yeah.
Grasscrete on the side, so that a fire truck could get down through that way if they needed to.
It looks like the red hatch goes like all the way to the trunk, even from that grass pave. So maybe Deandra was asking, like, are we filling there?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if
It'd
you
be a
could
film.
do like a retaining wall there to reduce the spill.
Yeah. Shrink that back with the retaining wall.
And it's pretty resilient.
Oh,
It is the red.
It's everything. I'm gonna like read it. This one doesn't bother me as much. Okay.
Yeah, I think saving the 2 Bs, switching off the walkways to boardwalks is really good. Kind of response to our comments last month. I'd be on board with approving it with adding the requirement for reducing the thank you, on 38 and 27. I don't think they'll ever get to 25%.
Not with those
in
two.
major, but if it was, you know, in the 30s, I think it would be.
Yeah. You want to say that?
Okay, yeah,
Would
I'll
you like to make a motion?
I will make a motion for approval. With staff comments plus a requirement to reduce the encroachments on trees 38 by relocating parking, and tree 27 by studying ways to reduce encroachment, including possibly retaining walls.
Second.
All in favor?
I in favor.
I in favor.
4-0.
4-0.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. Now we're on agenda item
Growth.
A3, 8 Poplar Street. North Central Council District 4, TMS number 463-1201-003, zone DR1F. Request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree. Owner Nicholas Rombowski, applicant April McGill, Root Boundary Lines LLC.
Very good, thank you. This is, again, Amanda, this will be new for you. All who was present, I believe, in the March meeting. But you deferred this one for additional information. So here's the application. I'll go through the slide deck here. This is a lot long and narrow on the north side of Poplar Street. You can see here the house, which has an addition, and then there's a raised wood deck, and then they do have a shed in the backyard. This is the request was to remove this water rope on almost on the common property line on the west side to build an addition. They basically came forth thinking that they would just simply ask for the removal. You all asked to understand more about the addition and present a little more, some more facts about why the addition is necessary and the proximity of the tree and so on and so forth. So they're prepared to do that today. So again, this is the existing condition. The tree had been pruned professionally. It wasn't hacked on to elevate off of the property. This was inspected by Cameron Rickert with Bartlett Tree Experts, and he basically said that the tree's in good health. Current health is good. Didn't really see any risk. It is a water oak, which is, as we all know, a shorter lived oak in Charleston. Existing conditions, existing pruning cuts. So deferred by the board, asking for additional supporting documents relative to the board's fact-finding function. And I just resubmitted the application again, a little more about the facts, if you will. So new addition would be of that size shown in the crosshatch by tearing off the later addition to the home. This is the layout proposed. So you wanted a further understanding of, you know, the existing house has a relatively small kitchen that gets enlarged, then a bathroom and a bedroom added to the rear. A young family wanting to possibly grow the family in size. Pictures. As we stood there, of course, I noticed that there's an invasive species. You see it center tallow tree. You'll hear about that in my comments, but the owner's amenable to have that invasive tree removed. And then we also noticed that as we were staying here, this tree seems to be suppressing a live oak to the east in the backyard of the eastern property. And, you know, both properties could maybe benefit by the tree being removed and that tree flushing out on the west side. So here's some interior conditions, and I'll let the architect speak to that in depth, but, small house. And again, the, letter from Bartlett tree experts. So again, March 4th, it was deferred for additional information. Having been on site, having heard more about the need to remove that, and BAR, I believe, has purview, and they've agreed to that demolition of the later addition to the principal house, if you will. And then wanting to match that western facade of the house coming straight back and adding in the enlarged kitchen, bedroom, and bath. Staff is prepared to recommend approval with the condition, and we talk about this, that there could be, or should be, 2 trees planted in the rear yard after you remove the tallow. And then also make a monetary contribution to the city street tree program in the form of $590, which is 2 trees.
Thank you, Eric. Is there any opposition to the application?
We received no comments on this one.
Okay. Okay, since we have a recommendation for approval, the applicant's present to present their application to the board.
Good evening, I'm April McGill, the architect, Root Down Designs, representing my clients, at 8 Poplar. As Eric stated, we submitted in March for requests to remove the tree. And the board requested more information. We met with Eric and our arborist Cameron Rickett on site again, and discussed some of the things that Eric just mentioned, including that the water oak is considered a boundary tree. It sits on the adjacent property line of the neighbor, and we didn't have this in time to submit with the application. We do have a signed letter from the neighbor in support of the tree removal. And as Eric stated, we noticed that it is shading a category 1 live oak, which could potentially be much heftier without the water oak. But really the big issue is that my clients would like to add a small master bedroom addition to the house. It's an 800 square foot home, 2-bedroom. The rooms in the pictures you can see are so small they can't even fully open the bedroom doors. So there's really, there's only one option to add on to a house like this. We want to be sensitive to VAR, height, scale, and mass. We've explored other options to try and design off the rear. We still have the side setbacks that we have to meet. So it's already a really narrow lot. So we explored trying to add on in such a way that we could push it as far away from that tree as possible. And the result is really a very long, slender addition that's just not efficient or economical or desirable aesthetically and proportionally. So we really feel that this is the best solution for the addition. It preserves as much of the green space in the rear that we can. It really doesn't come out any farther than the existing deck that is already there. So we're really working within that same footprint. But we know that any foundation, whether it's helical piles, spot footings, will further damage this tree, which is thought to only have probably 15 years of life left in it. So that is why we're here. We're hoping to receive approval, and my clients have also agreed to mitigate with 2 native trees planted and also to take out the Chinese popcorn tree. And they're here. I'd like to hear from them.
If you don't mind having that letter of support.
I would like to enter that into the record. I'll just read it, but it's quick. So it's dated April 23rd. Dear neighbor, I am writing to request your permission to remove the tree located in my property at 8 Poplar Street, Charleston SC. While the tree sits within my property line, its branches extend over onto your property. The city of Charleston requires written neighbor consent as part of the tree removal permitting process. Your signature below confirms that you're aware and agree to the planned removal. I appreciate your cooperation. Please not hesitate to reach out with any questions. Sincerely, Nicholas Brembowski of the discussed address, and it is signed by the neighbor Alfred Ankrum on 4/30/2026. Is there anyone else in support of the application? And I think it's. Okay, thank you. And since we had nobody in opposition, we'll go ahead and we'll close the public section and open it up to the board. Discussion, since you all were here.
I'm not here.
Oh,
But,
Can you go back to just the, I guess the second application, just you kind of breezed through it, but just their letter. Yeah, thank you. Make a motion for approval with five conditions.
second,
All in favor?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor. 4-0.
Good.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're on to A4. There's Boulevard, West Ashley, Council District 10, TMS number 301-00-00-052. Zone GB LB, request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 30 grand trees. Request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 6 grand trees. Request a variance from section 54-330 to allow a reduction in the impervious construction setback near the base of 10 grand trees. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 10 protected trees. Owner is Bees Resources, applicant is Thomas and Hutton. So Mr. Schultz.
So this is the slide deck from the original application. As you can see, it was advertised in the newspaper, 37 trees and 4 grand trees. A lot of work has gone into this project, and I didn't change the last images, but it's even been further reduced since that time, and we'll explain as we go here. But so this was the original application. There are variance criteria. As stated, the site is adjacent to Grand Oaks Boulevard. To the west, Plan West or Plan Right, it will soon be bound by Long Savannah Parkway that will be tied into West Ashley Circle. As you see, it has split zoning of LB and GB. I want to just take a moment to talk about a lot of issues that this board has no purview over, and that is the zoning. And within those zoning classifications, there are land uses that are permitted. Residential is permitted, multifamily residential is permitted. Traffic, is a concern of the city, and partially that's the reason it was deferred. And I'll explain that. The city feels that the plan that will be presented here in just a moment addresses traffic in a much better manner. But we're here to address trees, so I just want to be mindful of that. As you can see, it's a totally wooded site. I've been on the site. I think you referenced, or maybe there was some reference in some of the letters that people have done their research. I believe probably in the late 1800s, people were poking around on this land for phosphorus rock. And so there was a lot of dips and divots and mounds and that sort of thing, but obviously over time it's are covered. There are wetlands, freshwater wetlands on the site. As you can see here, here are the existing conditions. The gray trees are the protected trees, non-grand, less than 24 inches in diameter. The colored trees are grand trees. Obviously, they went further into the wetlands and picked up those trees as well. They're pursuing with another agency, wetland impacts. Again, not a purview of the city or this board. So you can see the density of the grand trees over the site. This was the original submittal. I want to just note that it had one major access off of Grand Oaks Boulevard and two access points onto the future Savannah, long Savannah Parkway. And it raised some red flags with the city, not only the site plan, but points of access. So at the city's request, they took a step back and agreed to defer. In the interim, some meetings occurred. This is the list of the grand trees. This was scheduled for March and deferred by the applicant. So this is the revised application and supporting documents. Again, this one is the most current. As you can see, it's been revised to reflect the removal of 19 grand trees, 3 special exception trees, and then some impacts and the protected tree removal. Again, their letter similar to previously submitted. At staff's recommendation, being in this region of the city, concern about traffic, concern about flooding, just the removal of natural resources. We strongly encourage the group to meet with neighborhoods adjacent to the site and make contact with our local council member. So this is just some documentation that demonstrates that they did that. Here's some people that attended. Again, this is the existing conditions. This was version 1, probably two and a half weeks ago. I had not gotten an official word that they wanted to be placed on this in the deferral mode. They just request that they be placed on whatever agenda they feel they're prepared for. Of course, they know that I had to put things on the website, but this shows a major shift in access. They'll have one point of ingress egress on Long Savannah Parkway, one on Grand Oaks, but the primary access is to be off of what I call the eyebrow on West Ashley Circle. So there's a West Ashley Circle, if you will, the northern quadrant, Bees Ferry splitting the 2,000-foot West Ashley Circle. And then within that, you have another traffic circle near the Harris Teeter, and they're proposing that to be their major ingress egress and realign the entire site so that at the terminus of that entry would be your leasing and your clubhouse. Still having a relief on Grand Oaks Boulevard. Again, that will be flushed out with their traffic impact study, and a relief valve, if you will, on Long Savannah Parkway. But the city feels that was a tremendous shift in the planning for this site. Staff review and recommendations. As I studied the new plan, I studied each individual tree as to the programming of the site. There was some programming that wasn't evident, but I felt that this tree circled could be preserved simply by being on the perimeter, shifting pond slope, shifting buildings, and reconfiguring some of their single family attached units. So that was one recommendation shot off. I studied the planned encroachments to some trees in close proximity to planned parking and sidewalks. and identified those for the applicant. And then it is important. Trees, we all know, offset stormwater. Taking some inspiration from an apartment complex a stone's throw away, overall proximity. I was reminded that you can build multifamily story buildings and preserve some good courtyard space with trees. So I asked that they take the perimeter as your area, your total area, subtract out your buildings and come up with a net area and think about preserving 55% of that area in existing tree canopy. And we'll see how they reacted to that. So that was 3 recommendations from the city as the plan was being, the evolution of the plan moved forward. So this is the second revision. You can see that they took that to heart. They did move the ponds. They're in a very tough location with the Church Creek stormwater basin. They'll have a lot of work to meet that very strict stormwater design manual requirements. So I suspect not only will they have the surface ponds, but they'll probably have some underground detention cisterns, whatever they can come up with. But so shifts in the ponds, shifts in the buildings, and there's still room for a little improvement. You can barely see on both courtyards a green outline and the protected trees. So the courtyard left, the majority of the courtyard, they're preparing to study further the preservation of those protected trees amongst the brands. And then, as you'll see in an exhibit here, the clubhouse being at the terminus of the new entryway, they do need an amenity for apartment dwellers such as a pool. So they're providing a canopy save area in between the 2 buildings there on the right-hand side courtyard. This is the second revision with the protected trees shown, just with all the trees, protected trees overlaid as well. This is the blow up of those courtyards. So you can see the protected trees within those courtyards being protected. They went a step further and provided some illustrations of the green space within the new configuration in the drive aisle and parking layouts. One thing that they did also, this got ahead of itself. It got scheduled on a board of design review board agenda. And then it was learned that they hadn't had all their zoning issues resolved, but that board voted to hear their case and provide feedback. And one of the items that they brought up were to break up the parking fields with green space. So you can see that they've made that attempt with green ribbons of green space running down between the parking fields and some islands and what have you. So breaking up those large asphalt areas, I took note of in this revision. So this is a very early schematic. I would assume a lot of work ahead, but again, the clubhouse and its relationship to the leasing office, the clubhouse, the pool, and then again on the plan left, you would see a tree canopy area preserved between the buildings. Just some very early sketches. So this is a map of and numbers of, there's too many tree photos. I think they're prepared to provide photos. If you want to zero in on a specific tree, we can relate the number here to a tree if you request that. Again, the tree list. Here's my breakdown. Based on my recommendations, I was thinking save, preserve, and this is how we come up with the 27 grand trees in total, 3 requiring a special exception, 24 variances, but then you take out the 5 F grade trees, so it's 19 trees requiring a variance. The F trees are those that are staff level approved due to being totally uprooted, dead, infested with insects, so beyond repair, what have you. And that coincides with the arborist findings as well, and staff being out on site. So staff recommends approval of the 19 trees, 3 special exceptions, the protected trees, and those are the trees within 25 feet of the property line. They have not totally provided the protected tree analysis, but they address those within 25 feet. But they think they may be close to meeting the minimum requirement with the wetland trees calculated in there, which is permitted. It's based on the parcel, not high ground, and they're forested wetlands. So, and then the setbacks they've started to address already with my recommendation, pull sidewalks and that sort of thing out. So with that said, staff recommend approval that 495.25 caliber inches of native canopy trees be planted on site, in which 15 4-inch diameter trees must be planted adjacent to Grand Oaks Boulevard. Must use 4-foot chain link fence as tree protection barricades. Must provide a tree preservation plan that is specific to each grand tree to be preserved, to include pruning and mulching. So every tree that's going to be preserved, the team is going to have to understand what's happening around it, the species, etc., and come up with a specific plan for that tree. So that could be, you know, a 19-page report for each tree. Or I mean, not 19, but the trees, the other trees to be preserved within the development. Must implement staff recommendation slides 1 through 3. So if I have to, I can go back and show you those. But basically, they have been working in that direction. They're not meeting 55%, but what I see, I'm comfortable with. So, and then the courtyard tree, same areas must maintain existing grade. Obviously, a soft path and benches would be permitted in those areas, but nothing, you know, that would require intense construction. That's it.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, now we'll open the public portion. Is there any opposition to the application this evening? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I might
So-
also add that obviously
We
we
have-
have touched on it. We had the 60 written comments.
60 written comments, which we're not going to read through, but we do have the printed copy, and I believe everybody read through those earlier. And thank you all for submitting your written comments. So if the applicant would present, please state your name and address.
Good evening, Dominic Jones with Thompson Hutton, 682 Johnny Dodds Boulevard. Had a long list of items to discuss today, but Eric did such a great job presenting. I'll kind of highlight some of the major changes that we took. The original plan that was submitted for the March BZA agenda included 416 units with approximately 70 trees requesting to be removed. After we kind of heard back from the neighboring communities and city staff, we decided to defer that meeting and set up a community meeting in the area at the local library to present the project and get some feedback. Some of those changes, the comments that came out of that meeting, those meetings were really great. Traffic was one concern. Again, we don't have to discuss that on this project, but the site plan was really derived around the traffic and the trees in this area. A lot of the site is broken up with, again, the phosphate mine ditches as well as the existing wetlands on the site. We're proposing to preserve a third of the site will be the existing wetland area. As well as, again, with the Church Creek Basin, the stormwater requirements here will require the original. Typically, what we will provide is roughly about a 10%, 10 to 15% pond storage. This one will more than likely be 20% of the developable site will be stormwater to combat the city requirements for the Church Creek stormwater ordinance. The new plan that you see before you now is reduced down to 381 multifamily units on 28 acres. That's broken up with 348 multifamily units, and then we've got 33 townhome units that front out on Grand Oaks Boulevard. We've also provided a 25-foot landscape buffer along Grand Oaks Boulevard, which is not a requirement. So want to make sure we keep that same that dense buffer as you drive down Grand Oaks Boulevard. Parking was relocated to allow for more green space. And the site plan now, again, has that additional access point off the West Ashley Circle. And I think I'm here to answer any questions if need be.
Quick question, when you had the community meeting, which plan were people looking at?
The plan that you have on the screen,
This-
slightly modified based on the comments that we received from staff. Yeah, this plan is what was on the screen.
Okay, thank you. Economic. Is there anyone else in support of the application present? Okay, now we'll open it up to public comment for people in opposition to the application. If we could keep comments brief to 3 minutes or so would be great. And if you're if people generally have the same comments as preceding commenters, if you could keep it brief and give, everybody give your name and address. And we've all looked hard at the comments, so if anyone would like to go first. Or if no one wants to.
Hi, my name is Liz Munn. I live at 3631 Morris Avenue. Here in the Johns Island Postal Route, but I am technically in West Ashley. I oppose anything, and I mean anything, that will remove this many trees from a piece of property. I can understand that development is coming, but I can also understand that things can be shifted and moved, and less is sometimes better when it comes to development. We live, in my opinion, in one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth, and more development and less trees. And I understand the standard answer is always, we'll replant some trees. Well, unless you have a spare 100 years in your back pocket, you can't replace some of these trees in that time period. So you can replant them, but they aren't going to be the same. It's never going to be the same if you remove this many diameter inches of grand trees from this area. And yes, flooding is a big issue. Nobody wants to flood. Nobody wants to have all of the things that are associated with the mess that happened with the Church Creek area. And I know that flooding is the one thing that you're talking about. I know you don't want to hear about traffic, but I guess my real question would be, does the area really need this many more homes? Is that something that we really direly need? When it comes to the exceptions, I don't think they've been met. I don't think that this is something that is not going to affect the happiness of the area. I don't think it's for the public good. And I'm sorry, I oppose it. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Tori Sanders. I'm speaking on behalf of the Coastal Conservation League at 131 Spring Street in opposition to all four variance and special exception requests before us tonight. In just reading through our application, I see that there's going to be a case rest on 3 problems, and I want to talk about those plainly. And And I didn't hear any in their proposal or in the online material, but the factual foundation of the request is not verified. The applicant claims the site is constrained by a network of ditches from historic phosphate mining. But that just appears in their letter and appears nowhere else in the application. There's no historical maps, there's no soil reports, there's no survey data. I don't understand how the board could find extraordinary site conditions and also unreasonable restrictions based on an unsubstantiated claim. The applicant bears a burden of proof here, and that burden has not been met. Second, the hardship argument doesn't hold for healthy trees. Many trees at the site on the removal list are rated B in good condition under the applicant's own assessment. They're not hazardous, they're not diseased, they're not structurally compromised. Many are proposed for removal to accommodate just surface lots and driveways. Those are choices the applicant themselves made. This variance process exists to address genuine hardship, not relieve an applicant of the obligation to design around the trees that this ordinance exists to protect. Finally, the special exception request within their second request on their application is procedurally deficient. The application states it seeks exemption for 6 grand trees, but it doesn't identify which trees, and it doesn't demonstrate they qualify under categories 3 or 4. And it provides no analysis for which of the 3 required findings the board could make. Our city's application process requires supporting documentation, and I haven't seen any tonight. And in general, the reason why this matters is more important than just the legal standards that were not met tonight. This is one of the last large forested tracts in West Ashley. And not just within West Ashley, but within the Church Creek Basin, which we've talked a little bit about already tonight, but we know there are serious challenges there. The trees proposed for removal range from 24 to 44 inches DBH, and replacement plantings at any level, they can't replicate their stormwater function on any kind of meaningful timeline. So allowing for the removal, even of the reduced 19, would have serious literal downstream effects. So yeah, tonight, CCL, we respectfully are or deny all 4 requests on the grounds that they haven't met the standards. They haven't met the variance standards. And then also the spirit of these ordinances and the, again, downstream effects that this could have. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, David Scott, 511 Carter's Grove Road. Can I start by saying massive improvement from what was originally proposed? That being said, I'm frustrated that we didn't get the second revision until right now. I feel like a lot of the comments aren't able to address some of these things because of the changes. As the Coastal Conservation League pointed out, they didn't provide any supporting evidence saying that phosphate mining solely affected their site. I've got a history of the phosphate mining industry in the South Carolina Lowcountry by Schuler and Bailey from 2004 that has multiple evidence that this was widespread throughout the region. It wasn't located specifically at their site. I've also got a 1936 Department of Interior report saying that, again, it was widespread throughout the area. It wasn't specific to their site. For the variance test, I think that addresses 1 and 2. 3, I don't think there is any unreasonable restriction to say we need to protect these trees. And 4, variance benefits public good and character of the district remains unharmed. Vehemently opposed. I don't think that this helps the public good at all. I contacted 7 apartment communities within a 1-mile radius of the site. They all have vacancies, so this isn't addressing a housing shortage that is necessary for this specific region. And I think that's enough. Public speaking, what fun.
What's your name again? I want to check you on my.
David Scott. I submitted a comment too, but I just had more right.
I'm just gonna keep track for my.
Page 12.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Jim Metzger. I live in the Grand Oak subdivision on 342 12 Oak Drive, which intersects Grand Oaks Boulevard. Virtually see this, by it every day. I'll try and keep my comments brief. In general, I would be opposed to this. I realize development is inevitable. We were hoping that it wouldn't be on this grand of scale in that particular parcel of ground. But be that as it may, my basic opposition to this centers on the trees. Tonight, you've heard people talk about preserving, I forget the exact number of grand trees, but that does not address the fact that thousands of other trees are going to be removed. Thousands. And these trees, all trees, you know, they do a lot of their work underground and managing the the rain, the runoff, the water. It's not just on the surface. The grand trees are certainly grand assets they have, but we would really like to preserve a lot more trees because they do a good job for us. Basically, I'm opposed to it, you know, as presented. Thank you
so much. Anyone else? If not, the applicant, if you would care to make your rebuttal?
I'll do one more.
One more? Okay,
Yeah.
two more.
Okay, two more. Two more? Okay. Hi, I am Chris Conley. I live on 111 Dorothy Drive in Grand Oaks in the Commons. I agree with everything we're saying, and I'm really opposed to the whole thing. I came here to South Carolina for the greenery. I came from San Francisco, and there's no greenery. But, you know, removing all these trees are detrimental. Plus, what's gonna be with the animals, the deer that's there? We have little space that is. We already have a lot of building on Breeze Ferry. If you go down the whole thing, it's all apartments. And then North Savannah, that's gonna be another huge community that's gonna go through. So I'm not sure why we need all these houses and cut down all these trees. Just for that. And that's my opposing. Okay, so there might be one more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Summer Elcock. I live at 511 Carter's Grove Road, and I am opposed to this. I agree with all the comments made tonight from my fellow neighbors. We know that unfortunately development is on its way. However, we just heard other arguments earlier today from different cases where they were able to preserve massive amounts of trees and massive amounts of wetlands. The fact that they only want to preserve 1/3 of these wetlands, we can see that it is evident and proof that they can preserve more than that in other areas. They talk about having a 25-foot barrier as you're walking along Grand Oaks. I walk along Grand Oaks every single day. I can see straight through to that 25-foot barrier. I can see where the end of those trees are being finished tied off. I think that taking away agree that not only the grand trees that you're trying to save, but the thousands and hundreds of trees that are still in there as well that we're not even considering, as well as all the development that's happening along Bees Ferry and in the surrounding communities. Again, removing all that wetland, we know that here in Charleston, in the low country, we're called the low country for a reason, right? We cover it with pavement, we cover it with cement. Where is that water supposed to go? These trees, these wetlands, they help preserve that and they help protect the other areas and the wildlife that already exists. They're running out of places to go. It is evidence that we've seen that in surrounding communities, all the apartment communities, they're not full. There are places for people to go. There are no places left for the wildlife to go. With the removal of all the wetlands surrounding the area, the wetland that right here is left, that could be a refuge for those animals that have been displaced. So I am completely opposed to this. I know that development will probably happen, but I think that we can do a better job if it is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Jason Johnson. I live in Grand Oaks at 6 Foot Six Halsted. And I'll echo what a lot of people said tonight about the retaining as many grand trees as possible, but I'd also like to point out a few things that maybe are misconceptions that I'm seeing on the local neighborhood groups. Firstly, and I know this isn't directly related to the trees, but a lot of people are under the impression that the proposed entrance to Grand Oaks is going to be an emergency exit only. I don't know where that got, how that got started, but I think it's worth noting and forwarding that on to whoever is responsible for handling that portion of the project. Additionally, so that would be that, I guess, that entrance down there in the lower right-hand corner. I believe that everyone benefits in the community from as many natural spaces as possible. The reduction of these trees would certainly not be in the public good, which is a tenet of the conditions for approving these variances. I also believe that it certainly detracts from the character of the area. So I think on those two fronts alone, it bears mentioning. But I just thought for the sake of those involved, they should probably get an opportunity the community should get an opportunity to look at the revisions. And they should get to have another open session on those.
Thank you. Okay, the applicant would like to rebut. Okay.
For the applicant, thank you. My name is Nicole Stott. I'm an attorney with Maynard Nexon. I represent actually the property owners who are here and available to answer any questions that you all might have, as well as our arborist who worked with Eric, sorry, Mr. Schultz, to grade the trees. Mr. Schultz, I do appreciate your comments at the beginning where you pointed out that we are here to address trees. We're not here to address the zoning. We're not here to address flooding. We're not here to address traffic. That's not what is in front of this board. What's in front of this board is a city-wide process that allows for an applicant to come in and request relief when warranted from the hardships of the ordinance. This property is appropriately zoned. The city has decided after study and contemplation that the zoning for this parcel is the appropriate zoning for this parcel. And that zoning does allow multifamily homes. And in order to develop the property in accordance with the vision of what the comprehensive plan, which the city has spent a lot of time developing, and the ordinances that follow that comprehensive plan, we've come up with this a plan to develop the property. Every property around here at one time was wooded. I dare say if you look at that list of property owners who submitted comments online, I spent some time doing this afternoon, and you go and you Google their addresses and look at them on the street map view, you'll see plenty of properties that have absolutely zero trees. So these folks are asking for you all to hold these developers to a standard that they have not met themselves. So I do think that is important. The hypocrisy is important to point out. Whether or not they took them down themselves or they were taken down prior. Sorry, do you have a problem with the accuracy in of my comments?
We need to keep people in order, please.
Thank you. A lot of things are said this evening about accurate information and verifiable information. One of the questions that was raised is, do we really need this many apartments? And I think two people made references to 7 apartment complexes that have been contacted with plenty of availability. Where is the proof of that? Why are they holding us to a standard of verification that they are not meeting?
Think of our citizens.
I'm a citizen.
Please.
Thank you.
Out of order, no, she has the floor.
Yes. So I guess it's okay for citizens to not have to verify information, but developers do have to do that. But just for the record, I am a citizen of West Ashley. I live closer to this property than many of the people who spoke here this evening. Sorry, lost my track. The housing, back to the housing. Instead of relying on these unverified claims of these 7 apartment complexes, I instead rely on the position of the mayor of the city of Charleston, who has identified the lack of affordable housing as one of his highest priorities. And therefore, there appears, I don't want to speak for the mayor, there appears to be a citywide acknowledgement by the mayor and his council that there is a need for these homes. That is a fact that can be verified by reading the city minutes and public comment. This team has gone above and beyond working on this project and working with Eric closely on coming up with the best plan for this property and reducing the number of trees that has to be taken down. I think that should be recognized and understood that they're not doing this just to cut down trees. They're doing this to effectuate the allowed zoning of the property. They're doing this to meet a need that the city has identified as a need, and that is to provide more housing, more affordable housing. And they have answered every request that the city has made. I do want to reemphasize that there was, at Mr. Schultz's request, a community meeting that was noticed. Cards went out to the residents. And at that meeting, and I was not at that meeting, but we have people here that can testify to this, the trees were of very little concern. That was not the main topic of conversation. The main topic of conversation and the overall outcome of that meeting was to see this site plan, or the site plan that became before this revision, and to understand what it was going to look like and understand how it was going to affect them. That meeting was very, very positive, and I dare say if some of these people had taken the time to attend that meeting, they would have been able to get their questions answered.
I was at that meeting. You're all there.
Please.
That's all I have. I would ask that for the record, the full application be included in the record, including the arborist reports, any maps, and other documents that have been submitted be included as the official record.
Do you have any specific comment back to the Coastal Conservation League's 3 points?
To the
Which
extent
was-
I remember them,
What was
not
it?
particularly.
I'm going from my notes here, so, one was about the unsubstantiated claim for phosphate, the other was about the hardship not for healthy trees for the,
Thank you.
and the other one was this special exception indicating that it was procedurally deficient with no analysis.
I disagree with all of that. With regard to the health of the trees, I think someone stated earlier, one of the comments was that we were taking down B grade trees. We're not proposing to remove any B grade trees. They are C, Ds, and Fs, as Mr. Schultz pointed out. Fs do not need to come before this board. So we're looking at C and D grade trees. Again, we've got the arborist here who can answer any questions as to the health of those trees. Certainly can verify that. As Mr. Schultz mentioned, the arborist and he actually walked the property and discussed each tree and the health of that tree. And there has been a report submitted as part of this application, so I would rely on that as to the health of the trees. As for the coastal conservation League's contention that the hardship criteria has not been met, I disagree with that. I think it has been met. I think the fact that these folks have worked so closely with the city and redone their plans so many times shows how difficult this property is, as wooded as it is, to effectuate the zoning that the city has designated. So I do believe the criteria has been met.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question?
Technically not, but if it's quick, we'll hear it.
Can we get the updated list of trees they're going to remove? Because they said they went from like 47 to 19, but the information provided to us online wasn't that new list, so we can't see which ones they're actually cutting.
Thank you. So this is Eric's list from.
So the right column, the S is a preserved tree. Everything with a number is the mitigation number if it were to be approved to be removed. So, and then the dash is corresponds to an F grade tree. So there was 36 trees marked with X's in the original. 5 grand trees are Fs, and then the additional effort and request from the city study to preserve additional trees are the S trees. The 3 special exceptions, I should have done a better job identifying them, but they are water oaks, category 3 tree, and they seem to be pretty much ganged up here. This is a water oak, a water oak, and a water oak. So special exception trees, everything else requires a variance.
Thank you. Okay, we're now gonna close the public portion of the meeting and open it to board discussion. I think what is difficult this evening is the fact that it's been worked on, there was a first presentation, they met with the community. Work's been done since then. I think it's hard because people haven't been able to see what's.
So what went on, ever since COVID, we meet the advertisement requirement in the Post and Courier. That was the original request. It was deferred by the applicant, so it goes into a deferral mode. So again, they can at any time request to be placed back on an agenda. So that was met. The site was posted, and since COVID, well, we have a requirement, once the final agenda, since COVID, we post that a week in advance of the meeting online, as well as the images. Prior to COVID, you would have to come downtown, open up a file, take a look at the exhibits. So it wasn't this version, but it was the first version with the new alignment and site layout that was posted online last Wednesday, along with the final agenda. But again, the numbers in the final agenda change as the plan evolves.
Thank you.
And again, I physically posted this site. We're just that short staffed. So 3 signs, we're obligated to put a sign on the right of way in which the property touches. So I put one on West Ashley Circle and 2 on Grand Oaks Boulevard.
Thank you.
Eric, having
Does
seen,
anyone need to review the 4 parts of the variance?
I just wanted to make the comment that the Thomas and Hutton the applicant did conduct a survey, and these survey lines that show the drastic changes in elevation is evidence of phosphate mining. And it is all over the area. So I think they did substantiate the claim that there are phosphate mines there, but at the same time, I'm not sure is a good argument for variance because phosphate mines are all over the area.
I wouldn't disagree with that because being familiar with the area and having been up to my neck in wetland out there, not on that specific site, but it is very common. And you can read it in the topo map. So, you know, if we were the BAR, perhaps we would be typically asking for more historical information. But we're not, in this case, we're having to rely on the survey and experience of the area.
Not having necessarily pictures of the trees, Eric.
I think, do you have pictures? They do, if you want to look at a specific tree. There's,
Well, some more general question. There's a lot of trees that are right next to an island that I feel like the parking islands just be shifted around a little bit to try to save more trees. I mean, they're right there.
yeah, so again, going back to this image, the highlighted areas were trees of concern the city had as far as the proximity of curb and sidewalk. Some were very tight on the trees. And want to zero in on one specific tree. You can see in the version 2 how they moved the sidewalk further out. They attempted to meet that request. Going from 24-foot drive aisles in some locations to 22-foot and narrow up the drive aisle to have that curve move further away.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at like this one. There's an island right here.
Oh, to save the tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
My thought on that, and I'll just be straight honest, when you force a tree into a 10 by 17-foot island, it probably is not going to do well. You got to give it the sufficient space. So the trees that are in parking lot bays or that, you know, to try and, you know, if they totally shift that building and they do grand things to try and get that tree in an island, but to kind of force it in and still have an impact, long term, it's not going to do well.
Do you have the photographs with you?
We do have, yes.
And arborists?
Yeah. You have a specific tree in mind you want to look at? Or-
General. I mean, I understand the grading of things too, but like if that, yeah, oh, like I'm looking at the sea up there in the corner, if maybe that became a one-way parking circle. I don't know what type of tree that is, but might be able to.
I can't remember.
120 is a red oak. It's rated C for being forked, having included bark, cavity, and decay.
Third, tree count of the table of trees to remain versus trees to remove.
I think the applicant alluded to that, but did you say how many trees were total on the site? How many total are preserved?
No, roughly, we're proposing to say roughly about 75%, and that's including the wetland areas as well. We can definitely provide a in-depth tree preservation plan. Again, once we can kind of dial down the site plan to make sure we're getting all possible.
Your attorney mentioned affordable. Are you just meeting the minimum affordable, or are you guys planning on more affordable to have that as a true claim?
Yes. I'll let
No,
You guys want?
we did not have a inclusion of affordable on the project.
Thank you.
And I will say the first revision that we had on the screen, that is what was presented at the community meeting, with more trees being removed. So the second revision, obviously working with city staff, reduced that number as well.
Thank you. We'll call you if we have any more questions.
Yeah, I think maybe that's
You have
part
some
of the
different-
problem. Like a lot of the community members' comments are in response to this drawing on the screen. Where I think a lot of work has been done between this and the second one. Can't speak for them. I don't know if they would have the same comments on these, but I mean, we are only removing Fs, Ds, and Cs and keeping a lot of the trees. You know, it only looks like there's 4 on the one on the left and 5 or 6, but now there's a lot more, right, in those kind of green spaces.
We have some different options. You know, one is you can defer if you don't feel like there was enough information, enough time. And if you think that the public you should be able to see the revised plan, you know, in a application, you can make a motion to approve, to deny. We can have further discussion. This is, I think this is a good case in potentially wanting to see individual trees. And again, to just go back through the elements of the hardship test. That there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, which is somewhat loose. And the authorization of variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. And then the special exception is a separate fact finding. Can you go back to your recommendations, Eric? So this is based on the removal of 19 grand trees, which are C or D. The Fs have been approved. It's staff level removal is per ordinance. And then the 3 special exceptions. Adding more trees along Grand Oaks. The tree preservation plan for each tree. Staff recommendations. I think the corridor tree preserve areas worked out very well. And if you want to look at should we look at those special exception trees specifically?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but tree number 11,380. 11,380. 11,000. and 10-767 are the water oaks.
Okay.
I'm wondering if, like, giving the community a chance to study and review too.
To defer the application, have them have a community meeting and come back.
There has been substantial changes, and I think that's important, but the community hasn't had a chance to digest that.
Sorry, I just wanted to. And
Go ahead.
just kind of overhearing what you're stating, so again, the first revision that we presented at the community meeting, that we had, I believe roughly 35 to 40 people show up, right? That plan has more trees being removed than the plan that we have now. So if we're saying we're trying to defer the meeting to have another community meeting to look at this plan, I'm trying to get a better understanding of what the outcome that we're trying to get. Right?
Like there was some confusion, like your representative said that there were no fees removed, and I heard a lot of grumbling, but that's actually true. But they just had the community members here have not seen the new plans.
The revision 2 had no fees being removed.
Right.
Or revision 1 had no fees
Okay.
being removed. So that's what I'm saying, like the plan that we're showing now, revision 1 didn't have any B grade trees being removed. We went back with city staff and saved some additional Cs and Ds to bring that number down, but there were no B grade trees being removed in revision 1.
Thank you.
And those like common areas look a lot now too.
Plan right here incorporates all of your recommendations on those 3 pages.
That's the plan with the tree numbers, so I'm not sure what they used, but this is the revised. After receiving comment from staff.
But this doesn't reflect the DRB comments. Or does it?
DRB Design Review Board. It, I think, considers some of them, but again, that was a meeting in which they thought they were going to get a vote. But because they hadn't had their zoning issues resolved, they voted to hear their presentation, and that was based on the original this plan, which, you know, I wasn't aware that it had gotten put on that. There was some miscommunication. So they went to DRB. The DRB voted just to give initial comment on this, and you can see some of the Cs of parking and what have you, and the townhouses fronting or not fronting on Grand Oaks Boulevard, et cetera, et cetera. So they took those comments and then were made aware that the city had some grave concerns about their egress points, connection points. Then went back to this, the drawing board and came back with revision number 1, which made the main, the perceived main access off of West Ashley Circle with the clubhouse at the terminus of that. But again, traffic hasn't we haven't gotten into technical review yet, or they haven't gone back to DRB. They've shared, I believe, along the course of the evolution, they've had conversations with DRB, I believe. And
yes, that's what I was gonna say. So we do have this plan that's been reviewed by the city architect, and also just taking into account the comments that were received at the DRB meeting, were implemented in this change plan as well.
I'm fine to make a motion for deferral.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion.
You have, I just with specific direction for them to,
Well, the first submittal was made with the first revision plan. That's what was available to the public.
okay,
The second revision plan was never made available to the public until tonight, correct? So I would say a minimum, they need to reapply with the current plan and potentially revise the request.
Do you want to? Did anyone want to add anything? And you can then rephrase the motion for the record.
Is there time, and would the applicant be willing to meet with the community again before coming back? I don't know how often y'all have community meetings.
I'm not sure that's, in my opinion, that's not necessary because they've already met with the community and taken those.
And now the plans would be available for them.
Feel free to give your opinion on it.
Just one question.
What do you think, Amanda? Yes, Andy?
I think if it's available online, I think then probably we have a good overlap with the people that wrote the letters that are also here. In the audience. I think if we had the tree photograph should be included in that. So I think your motion should be that you want them to, you want to defer with the specifics, being that you want it with the current plan, the updated numbers. I think we want to see the percentage worked out of trees remaining.
Tree tabulation.
Yeah, the tabulation of that.
Include the effective, because that's
Right.
nice.
And there was one other item, what was it?
Submit the current plan and revise the request to
Yes.
meet the variance.
and tree photos.
And
Tree
tree
photos.
photos. So you just need to restate that.
Okay.
So restart your motion.
Okay. I make a motion to defer the application. And we would like for the applicant to submit the current plan, notably second revision that was presented tonight. We would like to see tree photographs for the trees they're requesting for removal or variance. And we'd like to see a tabulation of percentage of trees to remain versus trees to be removed,
Including protected.
including protected trees. And we would like to see the application revised.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I in favor, that's 4-0.
Okay.
Thank you. All righty, moving on. In a second too. There. Is it 11?
Y'all need to put a laser pointer on your Christmas list. Very helpful in these meetings.
I don't know if it shows up on the TV, but we can, I think, use the cursor somehow,
I think you're right.
which I'm not.
I should use the picture.
Oh, yeah, internet staff. Eric was best.
Yeah, they're they're on almost every wooded site that projects on.
We're not doing too bad then. Okay, so we're on to section B, new applications. 87 Folly Road Boulevard, Old Windermere, Council District 11, TMS number 421-1100000002, excuse me. Zoned SR2, request a variance of section 54-327 to allow the removal of one grand tree. Owner SDM Express LLC, applicant W Redevelopment LLC.
Okay, 87 Folly Road Boulevard, actually, I believe is the technical street name. I forgot Boulevard. This is a application for a tree that this board previously approved to be removed under a different ownership group or contract, I'm not sure. But, and then whoever the parties were, they did not get it extended, so it expired. So we're directly across from the Windermere Shopping Center on Holly Road Boulevard, that lot there. Vacant lot has a very large southern magnolia in the northern corner. I guess that would be northwest. And then a pecan tree in the center. This is the lot. This is the proposed house. And the lot survey with the magnolia and the magnolia or the pecan tree. Pretty much centered in the lot. The house driveway on the south side of the property, garage. Country, 31-inch magnolia to be preserved. Again, this was 2022. It was in front of the board. It would expire 2024. This was what was presented at the time. This was the results of that meeting. Approved 6-0. Staff recommends approval with the same conditions. 20 caliber inches of native canopy trees to be planted on site, must provide a landscape plan with a single family house plan. Application for review and approval, must provide 4-foot chain link fences, tree protection barricades for the existing southern magnolia.
Thank you, Eric. Is there anyone present in opposition to the application? If there is no one in opposition, let's hear from the applicant. No need, it's all already. Okay. Alrighty, we'll close the public portion of the meeting and go to board discussion. I remember the first time this came through. And it's a kind of a narrow lot, really. And the trees, you know, you saw the trees. So what's not clear on the graphic though, is what's going on with the driveway to avoid the magnolia.
Driveway is going to be on the opposite.
Okay.
So the magnolia.
Okay, our plans are split. Never mind. I'm good.
Motion to approve the staff conditions.
Okay, all in favor?
I am.
I'm in favor. Thank you. We've got one more.
Who did the second?
Or did the next one defer?
Nope, 4-0. I just needed to get who made the motion and who seconded it. So
Okay.
yes, we're moving on.
You're here for
I'm gonna get approval.
Grimble Road. Okay. Next agenda item B2, 1614 Grimble Road Extension, James Allen, Council District 12, TMS number 42700000021 43100000288, zone limited business and PUD, request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 4 grand trees. Request a variance from section 54-330 to allow reduction in the impervious construction setback from the base of 6 grand trees. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of protected trees below 15 trees per acre. Owner is Charles Wilson, applicant is Nick Elford. Mr. Schultz.
Okay, taking a trip to the southern end of James Island. This is the application submitted by Nick, who's with HLA Incorporated. Variance test and explanation. So I only have one lot identified. This one is the triangular corner and then the lot immediately next door, 1640. But then it also incorporates, which is zoned LB, incorporates the parcel 1664 on the PUD site on the opposite south side of Grimble Road Extension. So you have the vacant corner, and then you have a residence with some lay down yard and what have you, and then you have what appears to be like a trailer storage facility on that southern portion. It's like a flag lot. It does touch Grimble Road. So this is just a shot from Folly looking into the site on the north side of Grimble Extension. This is the large live oak on the parcel on the south side. You can see Spyglass Apartments in the background. So the proposal is to create a recreational destination. It will be a not your traditional putt-putt golf, but a golf facility, mini golf type of facility with a eatery, and then a parking garage on the PUD for provide the parking for the facility. As you see there, it will need a delivery, truck delivery for the restaurant operation, and trash on the golf facility site, and then a ingress drive off of Grimble. It does have a required connection to Spyglass. You can see they built a stub out, so you would exit the garage through the apartments. I believe it's a 2-story with a rooftop parking deck. The live oak is in the corner that you saw adjacent to Folly Road. So the 2 trees are water oaks and 2 elms. You can see that one is in the building, one is in the drive on the golf site, and then one is in the facade. A garage, as you know, has some specific dimensioning, rectangular in nature. And then to make the connection to Spyglass, there's another tree. And then the few protected trees, as you see on the access drive, and a few along Folly Road behind the required buffer. The impact is there's a very good, nice group of live oaks that have already been pruned and mulched and are being treated, that reside behind the residence that they're on. And the idea is that that's the central focal point of the golf experience. And you would have an elevated ramp up onto a deck that would float over in between these trees. So you start to see what that would look like in that image bottom left. We met out on site. I said that we're going to have to get really creative with the foundation system, but I think it's doable. We talked about a distance that the elevated deck would be from the actual trunk of the tree of about 3 feet. So there would be a hole, but then a railing of some sort. And we'll get into that. Just here's the findings of the tree. So 2 elms C, 2 water oaks D. Encroachment are the live oaks, very good condition. There's a blow up of that area. There's a nice live oak, that B grade live oak in front of the drive aisle in the buffer. Does contribute to the canopy on Folly Road. So that would be preserved. And then the 2 trees on the parking deck site. Pictures. 25-inch water oak. The double elm. The 25-inch elm. And then the 31-inch live oak. This is the tree survey and the numbering system. This is the total list of trees. So while on site, I talked about the diamond pier system. We talked about helical piers. Very well mulched right now. So you start to see a layout of how the beam system would work, supported by these pier penetrating into the root system. RE Fund is the arborist, project arborist. They've already done some investigative work with a probing rod and located where a rod went down without hitting a root through the mulch. So we've got some work to do. The golf course component would be a little bit elevated. So there'd be actually like a retaining wall built way outside the protection zones, and which would support the golf. And then you would have a depressed area where the root system is, and then the deck would kind of be level with that. So, trees are in good health. Letters of support. 4 letters. No relevant case history. So staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 117 caliber inches. That incorporates the percentage required for the grand trees and the red X's for protected trees, 5 inches per tree. Must use 4-inch chain link fence for the trees in the center as well as others. Must have a certified arborist as part of the development team and must treat the protected and grand trees to be preserved. Must provide a final foundation and structural plan for the elevated deck system for staff review. And must have a meeting on site with the project arborist contractor in the city with the deck foundation staked out for review of means and methods of construction.
Thank you, Eric. We didn't have any letters.
No letters,
No
no written comments for item B2.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present opposed to the application? Okay, we will move on to, is the applicant present? Would you like to speak?
Unless it's my pretty voice.
Go ahead, name and address, please.
Name is Nick Allport, address 7359 Commodore Road, Pleasant, South Carolina. Eric, you always do a good job presenting. I just wanted to add a little bit more detail. As Eric said, I'm gonna focus in on the encroachments for just a minute because I think that's one of the coolest parts of this project. That grove in the middle has been. Can you actually go back to one of these sections on it? There was a picture on it that didn't quite load. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna load. This picture here, this was a picture of the grove as it sits now, kind of showing how open the interior of the canopy is, where that tiki hut would sit, how it wouldn't pose any obstructions to existing limbs. Those trees have been maintained by RE Fund for years. They're going to continue to be maintained under an arborist maintenance plan. As you see, we've gone out there and pre-surveyed where the roots are, so that we know that these helical piers or whatever foundation system they end up using will have the least impact to the trees as possible. We've arranged the beams. I know this isn't final. We'll send the full foundation plan and deck plan through the TRC process to be reviewed, but we've tried to accommodate Eric's recommendations on spacing from the tree to keep all these piers as far away from the trunks as possible. We think it's going to be a really cool project. To add a little bit to the golf course site, that golf course site is going to be raised and elevated. The client, Charles, has a vision of making a really picturesque, not your typical mini golf course. So there's going to be a lot of elevation, undulation, probably some underground detention that goes underneath that. But there'll be more elevation on this site than is typical, which I think will add interest. But we'll also bring those varying retaining wall heights into it. But the idea would be to have the golf course essentially ramp back down to the elevated deck to where you have essentially a zero entry from the deck out onto the course. And then same thing back to the restaurant. And then the other tree that we're looking at encroaching on the part of the parking lot side, he's exploring tiered foundations for the parking garage as well. So it wouldn't be your typical board in place foundation to try and lessen the impact of that hickory as much as he can.
Which ones are the water oaks? Which two are the elms?
The 2 water oaks are the grade D on the putt side, and then the
Along the garage.
the elms are on the garage side.
Are they when I saw elm, I was just curious, are they American elms? Yeah, and their C rating was due to hollow trucks.
The ones that are left corner on the upper, on the next to the parking garage is actually a co-dominant with the.
Can we go back?
The 1418, you can see that it's got two leaders, but it's that one in that corner where
Let's,
that one on the left.
Left, no, it's the one
Sorry,
right
yeah.
at the double trunk behind the truck.
Yep.
So that's a co-dominant at the base included bark. So it's already thrown in some shrapnel. I got a picture of the base, but it's pretty bad.
It's got a big metal rod that's been completely encased in the tree.
And that one, hollow,
Base.
Yep.
There seems to be like a ditch line, I think, back there, that's back there, so it's kind of growing off a ditch line. So a lot of vines, a lot of undergrowth through there, but it didn't take very long.
Does the chain link fence go through it or turns?
Chain link fence is a couple feet off.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and close that.
Oh, can I just make a comment on what?
Yes.
Sorry.
Name and address.
Our on 1510 Brookbank Avenue, Charleston, South Carolina, 29412, James Allen. So just wanted to comment on the grouping of oaks and what we did to look at working inside there. Like I said, we've been working on it for a while. There's years of mulch. We have probably 3-4 inches of mulch that are there now still, and they'll probably still stay there. But the extensive just probing through there, we actually spent like a whole day mapping out, GPS locating. If we found a route, we moved it over. So this way in the future, if we go to look for doing pilings of some sort, where he made some recommendations on the helicoils and some other different ones, but we'll know. So we're not redigging and redoing all this all over again. We kind of mapped out this whole where roots are from these trees so that we can put footings in there. The second thing is working underneath the trees like that. How do we deal with material debris with that amount of mulch? We do have the ability to remove the mulch that the construction's been worked with, so we can put back new mulch so that when you're doing work and your concrete spills over or something spills over, we can remove that debris. So we're protecting the root zone and the soil space by doing a lot of that. And the trees they've all been doing really well for the past like 5 years that I've been seeing them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we don't have, do we have a grading plan or is the
Not yet.
overlay shown? It's too early on this not being a big development. Because I'm just kind of curious about the elevation changes in the site. We are well out of the tree protection zone.
When we were out there, they can speak. I think I don't envision it. You saying that it would be any more than a couple feet off the ground.
No.
It's not like we're building big retaining walls. It's a big hole.
Because, and I haven't, okay, I'm gonna close the public portion and open it to the board.
Right.
Because normally we've gotten away from doing any kind of a well.
Right.
Situation.
It's gonna be very well drained.
Typically, with things like the Walmart out on James Island and other places where things have been built for a while and proven unsuccessful, but those typically are deep.
Right.
So this is gonna help.
2.5 feet.
So we're not having a huge grade change with that.
The grades will be in the northeast and north corner, far away. The grade around that will be no more than.
We'll have a gentle,
The way the golf course design is, the edges are high and then the actual green is lower in the middle. And then the sand trap, the drainage component for each hole.
and obviously I have to do the tear seat.
Yes.
I think it's fascinating that they're doing a parking garage for this.
Yes. Many meetings about a parking garage and access, believe me.
Get one over on Maybank Highway.
What am I doing?
Anyway, okay. Any thoughts, comments, anything you want to ask?
Is there room for 117 inches on the site?
So he has a vision for this golf course to be very lush and what have you, whether they're canopy trees, I'm not sure yet, but the team will do their best and we'll entertain a contribution if necessary.
And if it was a street tree contribution, where would you see that going?
So the check is received by the city and then the Parks Department decides where they go. We inform them where the mitigation, where the project was that required the mitigation. And then they try, my understanding is that they try and focus on lower James Island somewhere, but I can't guarantee it's gonna be in the same block or anything like that.
Yeah, I just wonder if there was a way to, you know, instead of it being a street tree, could it be a park donation, you know, to a park or something instead?
Well, the way we're set up, it's,
I know,
it's
I
a
know.
contribution.
My pet peeve about most mini golf courses is that they're more of like a desert environment where everything's dead. And it feels like concrete.
Thank you.
So we're creating something that doesn't exist. We're taking the good and then going above and beyond what anyone's ever built. So
That's okay, that's
we
okay.
won't have a problem meeting the tree.
Yeah, you're out of order, but that's, okay. So, does someone want to make a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion for approval with that comment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'm
In favor.
In favor. 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.